Time being 7 o'clock, I'll call the Monday, February 10th, 2020 meeting of the Oxford Planning Board to order. First on the agenda, plans not requiring subdivision approval. We have none. Next agenda item, action items. 40 Howard Street, acceptance of stormwater management as-built plan. Well, come to find out, the as-built plan is somewhere between the developer's engineer, and Sean Duvall said he would inspect to that as-built plan as soon as he got it, so there is nothing in our possession. Now, why don't you come on up and we can talk to where we go from here. I understand he's gonna close on the house on Friday.
I guess let us know where you're at as far as the overall, everything except the seating is done.
Everything except the seam is done.
I don't know the topography, but I did learn a lot about hydro seeding. They have winter mixes of hydro seed to protect your runoff in that. I only raised that to you, so.
Does that work within the 100-foot buffer of the wetlands? Is that why we're doing it?
No.
No, it was a solar farm
Oh,
Yeah,
that did.
need to be stable.
no, I'm talking about Dan's project.
No, it's a
No,
single.
no.
It's stormwater
It's the house
management
next to
base.
the red, the old barn.
The old farm.
Yeah.
So it's a stormwater management bylaw and land disturbance bylaw. If it is outside of conservation jurisdiction, it goes to the planning board.
So the closing is definitely this Friday, right?
It's Friday, it's scheduled for Friday.
Yeah, I'm gonna give my thought on this a little bit, because again, you know my feelings on the process people have to go through for stormwater management. He hired an engineer, certified engineer in the state of Massachusetts, got the stamp and everything. He did a plan. He's saying that that plan has been completed to their satisfaction. That's all I need. I mean, somewhere along the line, somebody in the town said, we want to verify it all the time. To me, this is a town problem. The reason he can't close is because of the town, right? We can't get the information in time. So,
I would say it's a timing issue in general.
Right.
right. After that happens all the time.
It does happen all the
Oh, no,
time.
it does
Hey,
happen.
we've had things that have opened up without
Right.
as-built that was supposed to be approved by the planning.
Yep.
On the other hand, you know, we shouldn't be make that the exception is to have it than not to have it, okay? We can't help it that you're closing on Friday and your site plan didn't even get to the town yet, okay? So, Norman, I know where you're coming from,
Mhm.
but on the other hand, you know, this is, again, another timing issue, you know? I look at it as a timing issue, your timing issue, okay? Now, how can we help you with your timing issue?
I think if we can get a temporary occupancy permit to at least close on it, I mean, all we have left to do is the hydro seed, which we plan on doing in the spring, and the bank's holding back money from us so that we do it in the spring.
So.
Yeah, I just wanted it to be clear that it's.
Went to May.
I'm okay with a temporary height, that's what you.
I'm just trying to think if, is May long enough?
We usually do 90 days.
I know.
okay, but-
Wait a minute, as soon as the water breaks, we're doing it right off the bat, because we're gonna be there working on the next house. It's not like
Yeah, you're not going.
we're doing one and we're running. We have a lot of houses
No,
in
yeah,
town, so.
I'm not, it's got nothing to do with you other than the fact you got a timing issue,
Right,
okay?
right.
Uh,
And this was just brought to my attention today. I just heard about this today with my engineers not having this
Right.
plan, which they were supposed to have done, and I didn't know it until today.
okay.
Yeah.
So is it temporary work?
Huh?
Temporary would work?
Yeah, go ahead.
We can
Chris.
discuss it, yeah.
I forgot what my question was.
It's not gonna be completed
No,
anyway.
yeah.
No,
Not-
so,
not-
all right,
it's
so
not-
if you, I'm curious about the temporary occupancy permit. What does that mean?
That means
What
the plan-
happens if, he
Okay,
doesn't?
so say we do it to May 1st and nothing is done.
Then
Then they don't get
Kick
occupancy.
the people out?
They don't get occupancy, no, yeah, they
Yeah.
don't get occupancy, they don't,
Typically, that's what would happen.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
And would they close on it with
Yeah.
knowing that they got a
Yeah,
temporary?
they're gonna move in on Friday, and we're gonna, and the town's gonna go kick them out. Really,
We've
that's
never
gonna
had to
happen?
do, we've
Well,
never had
wait a
to do
minute.
that.
She brings up a
They're
good
gonna-
question.
They're gonna come up.
Will the bank close even if you only get a temporary occupancy permit, do you know?
That I don't know.
That's a good point,
Yeah.
Chris.
That's all we can do from a
Right.
planning board standpoint, is we
Right.
can tell the zoning enforcement officer that from a planning board perspective, we would allow a temporary occupancy permit for 4 months, 4 months.
Yeah.
I don't see why the thing.
Okay.
closed,
And
no,
based
they're
on,
holding back money
the
us
final
to
inspection.
do what has to be done to finish this. I mean, all it is having hydro seeded, that's it.
We
I
can
mean, I
do
drive
it.
by that like all the time, right?
Well, you
I
know
see
what,
it.
we've
It's
had
pretty-
condos,
it's
look
flat,
at,
it's
look
flat,
at, look at
it's all
Twin
in.
Elms.
Yeah, what's the, is it flat? Is it
Look at Twin
flat?
Elms, those
Yeah.
people
Flat.
had mortgages that are probably half paid off by now.
Yeah,
You know, and they didn't even have access, it
right.
was just binded for 12 of those years. you
Yeah.
know? So it can't be that different. From a bank's perspective, I don't know. I'm not gonna go there, because I'm not in the business, but I see it happening everywhere else.
And again, the buyer has to be aware of this, that it's only temporary. I mean, that's,
Yeah, no, it isn't done, the project is not done.
and that protects them too, I guess, in the sense that,
If he doesn't do, if they don't do it though, who's gonna do it?
The town
Well,
would have
then
to
I
go
think
through a
it-
court case.
Comes down to zoning enforcement.
Yeah,
I mean, it's gonna be done. I think.
Oh, no, I know.
I think most of you on the board know me personally
Yeah.
to know that I'm gonna follow through with this. I'm not gonna just leave it hanging on that.
We won't issue him any more building permits until he finishes it.
well, we've done that in the past.
well,
Yeah.
we've done that too.
Well, we've had collateral of some sort. so. But we'll,
Yeah,
I don't mind, you wanna make a motion,
Yeah,
make a motion.
I'll make a motion, we give them a temporary occupancy permit till May first.
The first meeting in May, we should expect to see everything done.
Yeah, conditioned on being final inspection by Sean and all the other appropriate boards.
Well, the reason we're holding it up is the town hasn't given
Right.
him the okay,
But
so
the
he can do that next week,
Right,
right?
right,
Well-
it's not just, it's too.
No, it's not just that,
So
it's the
it's not-
landscaping is.
Right, the landscaping and hydro
Hydro
seeding
seeding,
isn't
right.
complete and can't be completed until the spring. So Sean Dyval, who said that he'll do the inspection, can't really do a final inspection until
Right,
that work is
right.
completed.
Right, that's,
Well, no, I don't know about that. We've done a ton of these
Well,
in
he
the
can
winter
go
time.
well, he
Okay.
still needs it though.
We need his,
But
he's
it's-
looking at the as-built, so
Yeah, but-
we need a letter from him
Yeah.
telling us that he's okay with the as-built, other than whatever's not done. We do this all the time, right?
Right.
So,
But in lieu of receiving that correspondence from him,
Right.
Right.
I think you as a board can make that recommendation
mhm.
to recommend to the building inspector a temporary occupancy
Until
for,
May-
Right.
like
till-
you said, until May 1st.
right. It still needs to go through final inspections.
It has to,
It
yeah,
has
it
to,
can't just
everyone's
be,
gotta sign off on the
it can't just be a
permits.
looking at the as-built.
Right.
Sean has to go to the site.
I understand, do a site visit, look at it, but we run into this all the time. I mean,
But-
there've been things we've done in the past where this time of year, they're closing on something, they can't do the landscaping. How did he handle that before?
But Norman, in this case, his engineer did not get those plans to him.
I'm not talking about that. I understand. If the engineer can get the plans in time, well, okay, that's a whole different story.
So-
What we're looking for right now is a sign off from Sean Dyval saying that the project has been completed. And what we usually get in a case like this is he'll sign off on it, right? And if there are a couple of things that aren't done,
Yeah.
he knows it.
Right, so if we had an engineer that was helping out the board, such as Jared Duval or Nick Gosher was, then I probably could have had that for you,
Right,
but,
Right.
Because of it, like Rich
Sean-
said, it's the timing issue.
Right.
yeah.
I'm okay with a temporary occupancy
Okay.
permit.
Right.
Then let the bank worry, but that's got nothing to do with us. If the
It's
bank
got
likes it,
nothing to do with
fine. If they don't,
So I'm leaving my motion as it stands.
I'll second it.
Okay, further discussion? There being none, all those voting in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? Carried unanimously.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Right, yeah.
Okay, next item on the agenda, large-scale ground mount solar energy systems. Discussion of a proposed zoning bylaw. And I have, I think, Mary, you did a great job putting this together. You had some questions about something, and so did I. I think it was, at the time of application for a building permit, the applicant shall provide to the building inspector evidence of insurance coverage sufficient to build and operate the solar energy facility. Minimum required coverages include $1 million in general liability coverage by
Where are you,
occurrence.
Rich?
I'm not, you've got a question mark and you left it blank.
Oh, I know,
okay?
but what page are you on?
Section.
Let's see.
Oh, page 6, the financial
Yeah.
surety.
5.16, proof of liability insurance. You didn't put any amounts in there.
Okay.
I just saw it in these others and I'm
Yeah,
asking
yeah.
a question. You had a big question mark there too,
Oh, okay.
okay?
Well, I've just never seen that in any of our zoning bylaws. So I guess my question is, do we just get proof of liability insurance? Or do we go for specific amounts?
Wouldn't it
Like
depend
the
on the
other
size?
towns have.
Would it depend on the size though, I would think?
I think so, and I think those other towns
Yeah.
did a lot more research on it.
Well, whatever, even Charlton has it on there, they call it financial surety, section D. But I think theirs goes more towards, I'm trying to read, but it goes more towards the, an estimate of the costs associated with removal and disposal of all materials. It seems to be directed to a different, I looked at this as they wanted some sort of high liability in case something should happen
Right off the bat.
during construction. I don't know, was that a forest fire, woods go on fire, whatever, I don't know what they were worried about.
I don't know either.
I know, you put a question mark, I
I
know.
mean,
you did.
I would think all those companies would have their own insurance towards liability
Well,
towards.
they
I would
need-
think so.
They needed insurance.
But back to Rich's point about, the decommission of that.
Right, so
And again,
that's-
I think that's gonna be subject to, the amount would be subject to change, how much it, I mean, if you have a,
So that's another section, discontinuance, decommissioning, abandonment, and removal is 11.0.
but I don't think you can put a dollar, I think it definitely needs to be a figure obviously, but I think you can put a defined
Right.
dollar figure, whether it's, $50,000 to, $500,000, depending on the size of the,
Can we limit the size of these,
I'd love to do that.
these projects, so can be no more than so many acres?
So
We
many
don't end up like a
acres or
North
so many
Oxford.
megawatts.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
also, can we limit the number of them in town,
Yeah.
like we did with the marijuana things? We can only have 10, once you get the limit, that's it, I don't know if we can do that, but we've got quite a few already.
Well, I believe that Charlton had theirs approved by the Attorney General, and I think they put a limit.
Yeah.
I think West Brookfield put a limit on theirs too.
I don't know the board about, we've
Cap
got
it at-
quite a few
Yeah, we have
already.
7, I think.
Yeah, so maybe cap it at 10 and cap it at the, I'm just throwing this out. And they can't be any bigger than a certain size,
Cap it at
a
7.
certain amount of acreage or a foot, or whatever. Yeah, well, I mean, that's why they're not going to these other towns.
So, I'm new to the board, and obviously you guys have talked about solar panels before. I know we talked a little bit out in the parking lot. What is the issue with, beyond the breakout of the drainage and all that other stuff, what is the issue with solar developments?
People don't like it in their backyard, it's an
Okay.
eyesore.
And people don't like buildings in their backyard either.
And
Yeah, but they don't, people can live with buildings. From what I hear, they have less, some people have less of a problem with a house next to them than a a 20-acre solar field.
And originally, it was gonna be kind of a benefit as a tax purpose to the town, where now that's not, because it was supposed to be taxed on all the equipment and everything being used up there, and now that's not the case.
Right, there's some type of a tax loophole where the solar developer is able to go to the appellate tax board, and the appellate tax board, I believe, has sided with the solar companies that they don't have to pay
Pay all the
the
equipment
personal
and stuff.
property taxes.
Which is about $1 million for
So
this
that's a
town.
big, that's a big, that's a big thing, that's a big,
So,
The other thing is the environmental impact. You don't
Yes.
like coming and stripping all forest land.
there you go.
I mean, those are the things
So
that,
those are the, probably the biggest three things.
So the town gets no tax benefit from these things?
just
Very
on the
little.
land, just on the land.
Not unless
Yeah.
the town enters into a pilot agreement, payment in lieu
And
of
we're
taxes.
putting that in here
Yeah,
to take care of that loophole.
if you ever go look at the one up in North Oxford, I mean, that's, like I said, it was one of the largest ones in the state.
188 acres.
Yeah, it just stripped everything.
Where is
It's
that?
on, up on the hill. off of
If you go up
Prospect
Maple
Street.
Ave, at the end, you'll see that, and then the other one, if you go up through
Kelly Street,
Auburn,
Kelly
yeah,
Street, that's how big it
the
is.
former pig farm.
it's about 100 acres.
Gugowski's in it.
So it's the environmental impact, the aesthetics of it.
Would you rather smell the pig farm?
I believe, I lived up there, we
Yeah,
did smell a big
yeah.
one. But you asked us why, we're telling you.
Yeah,
So-
I know.
yeah.
Potentially, this property could be used for
Development.
other
real estate.
type
Oh,
of
yeah.
development that would bring in
Higher tax.
tax revenue.
A higher tax, absolutely.
So the solar company's
Right.
going in and taking, 20 to however many acres, and these solar panels are gonna sit there for 20-plus years.
And right now, there is no decommission process of anything. It goes back to the original owner of the land to take care of that. And that's a huge issue too, because some of these are getting close to 10 years old now, I think. And that's half, they're only good for 20 years. Those panels are only good for 20 years. That's it.
Yeah, so we were
But
leaving
But
it
at
up.
20 years, there could be new technology, they could revamp them, they could.
Well, they still have to do something with the original pan, yeah, they still have to,
Maybe put new panels on them that are better,
maybe,
retrofit.
yeah, maybe.
They certainly might be able to.
But I could see
do
that they're only at 50, some of them at only 50% now because they lose exponentially a lot.
Mhm.
So that, those years 15 through 20, they're probably hardly any benefit at all. What's the benefit to them to just say, well, sorry, we're all done with that one, see you later.
After doing it for how many years, we found it's not all what it's cracked up to.
Right.
And it's, again, like you said, the financial potential loss of the town, the environmental issues, the aesthetic issues, all this other stuff. So maybe if we limit the size, well, that's one thing. Maybe if we limit the number, that's another thing. We're just having a discussion about it, so.
Oh, no, I know.
No one's finalized anything yet. And it's good to have this type of discussion.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that was the-
I'm looking at the Charlton one, and they put, planning board shall approve no more than 40. They don't have 40.
They got a long way to
No,
go.
I think.
Any size, Rich? Can you tell what
Yeah,
size?
they limit
Up
the
to
size.
10 acres.
That's the largest they can have?
The large one's considered 5 to 10 acres,
Oh,
okay?
I like that. I was gonna go 20 now.
That was part of the definition of a large one.
Yeah, so I didn't really put in a lot of definitions. If you want more definitions, I can add them in.
I think we should.
Yeah.
I think we should try to restrict things in this thing.
Yeah, no larger than 10 acres.
Yeah. I mean, we made the mistake of doing that 100-acre one.
So we want the size of the farms, the number of farms, are we gonna consider that?
Yeah, oh yeah, I definitely think, and I think 40 is way too many. But
Well, they have
size lot-
they shall not approve more than 30 large solar systems townwide.
Yeah, I think
And
Charlton.
someone at the end of it, they made a motion to make it 40 at the end.
Wow.
So they're saying tops 300 acres, right? If you get 30 of them and the biggest is 10 acres, that's 300 acres. Of their total land can be solar farms. If you look at it that way too.
Yeah, we're well above that already, I would imagine.
Probably less than that too, I'm sure they have buffer zones on those acres.
Right.
So there's ones, what, 200 feet from any
200
road or
Yeah.
house,
That takes up a lot of the 10
which we
acres.
don't have
We
anything
don't have
right now.
all we have is
Yeah.
what the setbacks are
Yeah,
for the
which-
zoning district,
Right.
or setbacks from
I like
wetlands.
I like to see it 300 feet.
Yeah,
No, I would.
I know.
If they got enough land,
Right.
And then they got the percentage of trees that can be cleared, which is at 30%.
Mhm.
I like
Okay,
that,
so,
yeah.
so
Should I
they-
put that
they're
in
looking at
there?
Yeah,
fields.
I like that,
They're
yeah.
looking at old fields.
Right.
And that's where most of these things are going on.
Right.
Fields, junkyards.
Yeah, that was the
anything
last
that-
one, right?
Anything that didn't have trees, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I like the.
So I think limiting the trees would,
So you're saying 300 feet from any road?
yeah, so you don't have to look at it. I'm just throwing this
Yeah, no,
out.
I like that.
300 feet from any road?
Or resident.
Oh, yeah. That'll limit, that'll cut.
Well, again, again, from being on the board, that's the complaint we get from the abutters. They don't wanna look at it.
Yeah.
And you put up an 8-foot fence, what does that do?
And if you're 300 feet from the abutters, then hopefully your drainage.
Charlton
Drainage
has,
will be away.
Charlton has 200
We
feet.
had that one on Federal Hill Road, she was a quarter mile away from it, and she was still worried about
Mhm.
being able to see it.
I mean, a lot to do with the,
A quarter mile.
Yep.
well, it depends, like, cause she was at the
Bottom.
solar farm, she was at the bottom of the hill, so she would have been looking at it.
Looking up through the trees, but there was a lot of trees.
Yeah.
You
A
can't-
quarter of a mile.
Yeah.
You sure you want 300 feet, Norman?
Huh?
You want 300, how about
I'd like
200? How about using the Charlton one for there?
Yeah, I'd rather go 3,
I'd
but
like to go more.
that's up to the board.
I mean, a
Two's
typical-
better than nothing.
A typical is 50, okay? 50 non-disturbed buffers.
I mean,
Okay?
300 is a huge buffer.
There you go. It's gotta be more.
Absolutely.
And 200 is a good sized buffer too.
Yeah, there you go.
Unless you're
I'll
living,
go with
unless
the
you're living
200.
across the street from it.
Okay.
And again, that's the issue we've had, but whatever. How about 200 feet of natural vegetation then, with that? If it's a field, 300.
Oh, I like that, yeah.
How's that?
Yeah, I like that.
If it's wooded area, 200
Sure,
feet.
it's all clear
If
from the
it's a
road.
field area, go back 300. That make sense?
Agree with that.
Now, we're compromising a little bit. What do you think of that, Mr. Chairman?
I'm for anything that improves that. The only
Just
thing
throwing it out.
Yeah,
If you're
yeah,
not
no,
doing
you
that,
just say, yeah, you can.
This is
I'll
not,
throw the thing that's been a real headache for us, okay, is the
Yeah,
electrical
that's a tough
inspector.
one.
Once he signed off on the electrical work with National Grid, they fired the freaking things up, even if they weren't done
There's
with
no
the
plan,
entire
yeah,
project.
no way that's built.
Well, that's,
Okay.
again, that, a lot of that issue that you guys have had, because the town never had a bylaw,
Yeah,
right?
but
So
they,
you didn't set the steps. and
but
you
the
didn't put it
bylaws
in.
I'm seeing don't even
Address
address
that.
that either.
well, we can add that in there. We can say
I
that,
did.
no, yeah, she did put
I
that
did
in
add
there.
that
No
in.
electrification,
Right.
whatever it is, can be
Right.
done until the as-built plan is signed off on. I mean, think what
I
we're
don't
doing tonight. We got a guy that
remember.
builds a house, he's doing
Oh,
too well. You got a solar farm, with all the issues they have, and they can
Fire it up.
fire it up before they have.
Okay, you got it in there, Mary.
Yeah, section
Yeah,
okay.
13.5,
All right.
no occupancy permit shall be granted by the building inspector, nor shall the site be energized or interconnected to the utility until the planning board has received, reviewed, and approved an as-built plan that demonstrates the work.
That's good, that's good.
And to give them a little more incentive, I put in there, the applicant shall make every effort to coordinate necessary surveying and finalization of the as-built plans and submission of required construction control documents prior to the conclusion of construction that would prevent the applicant from interconnecting to the utility. So
Yeah.
putting it back on them to stay,
To basically do their job.
to make sure they do their jobs.
Right, yeah.
And instead of focusing just on construction, they need to focus on the engineering
Yeah, I
part
know,
of
they,
it too.
they've had timing issues in that field too.
Absolutely.
Exactly, yeah, yeah.
And I'd like to see like all screening material, anything must be maintained for the lifespan of the facility. In other words, if they plant shrubs and they die, or if a piece of fence comes down, things like that for the life, it must be maintained for the lifetime of the facility.
Is there a section about what type of screening, are we getting that detailed?
We've always asked the neighbors on it, like people that actually abut it, we kind of give them, you know.
What would make them happy?
What would make them happy?
So the
I think you
fencing,
really have to start with a baseline though. don't
I
think you wanna-
agree with
yeah.
that.
You don't wanna go into a board meeting and say,
What do you
what do you
want?
think they should do? Because
Right.
they're gonna say,
I did have one say, well, just put some boxes around, and I was like, what?
Well, to bring your point, that's an issue we had with the last one we had our trouble with.
Yeah,
In fact, we told them what to put up and they still didn't put up the right one.
right,
So I think we should give the specs. I think we should also give specs on the type of trees and how high they have to be and how far apart they have to be.
Right, and if they want, if
They wanna
if
alter it?
They wanna talk about it, then they come to the board and talk about it.
We can put in there, you know, discussion or alterations can be talked about or something
Right.
like that. But I
Like a
agree. I think we-
25-foot arborvitae all the way around.
yeah,
Absolutely.
so 10 foot from the
2
ground
feet
up.
apart.
10 foot from the ground up, 25 would be good.
Because an 8-foot fence really does nothing.
Nope.
Keeps people out, but in terms of vision,
Well, it
Well,
depends
the
on, it
8-foot
depends on the
fence
grade.
is-
yeah, but
Yeah.
You know, security too.
Yeah.
But they have to do that anyways, but yeah.
Right.
But like I said, 8 feet from the ground up. So in other words, they couldn't put one in 2 feet down.
Okay, so there is the buffering and visual mitigation in here, section 6.3. A proposed project in a residential zone shall provide a buffer with a minimum width of 200 feet measured from the fence of the proposed solar system to the property line of all abutting properties. And there's specifications with the landscaping. Evergreens shall be at least 6 feet to 8 feet tall at time of planting. So there is.
You've got, that's.
how
an
far
arrow.
apart?
You got more than the other two you looked at, haven't it?
Yeah.
um,
And that's where I'd like to see like the maintenance of those for lifetime of the.
Well, this,
Yeah, she's got
it
some-
shall be a condition of this special permit that the town boards shall have the authority to view and inspect plantings at the site at selected intervals, i.e. 2, 5, 7, 10, 13, 15, 18 years from the date of this special permit, to ensure that such plantings continue to be sufficient and in good health.
who's that from?
That's from West Brookfield.
West Brookfield?
Yeah.
How far apart should we put them, Rich? Does it depend on it? Arborvitae is what we use.
It depends on the type of
Yeah, 10.
buffer they have. If they have,
Yeah.
with 200 feet now,
Well, we should specify something.
well,
Probably should specify the best version and let them negotiate.
Every 3 feet, is that?
3 feet, I don't know. Like he said, depends on
How
the
they grow,
shrub.
depends on what they put in there too, yeah.
Right, it
Well,
depends
tell
on
them
the
what
shrub.
shrub.
And it's
What if we put
better
arborvitae,
tall
is that
or
what they
wide.
use, Craig? Is that a good screen?
Arborvitae's pretty good.
Yeah, good school.
So, just put arborvitae's every, what, 4 feet apart, 8 feet tall? And then put a clause in there that, what do you wanna put for a clause that leaves a little leeway?
Well, no, they can, I mean, it's not a zoning bylaw, so we can adjust it. If they wanna bring it to us and say, here's what we're proposing,
We want,
then we can
we
do
want
it.
blue spruces, or we want, you know.
Right, then we can discuss it.
Yeah.
But we should set a baseline and go from there.
I don't know if that's the case. If we specifically put in the bylaw, I'm just asking,
this is a bylaw, they're
Yeah.
gonna have to follow it.
so they're gonna have to
Well,
follow.
we are at the planning board's discretion if you wanna
Very
put
good.
something in there.
See, that's why you're the
Clause in
chairman.
Yeah.
Good choice of words, Rich.
Put that at the end of every section.
Well, that's the way they use it anyway.
No, that's good.
That's what special
good.
permit means.
I'm okay, that's good.
Yeah.
So 8 feet, arborvitae's 8 feet high, 4 feet apart?
From the ground up.
Or at the
So-
planning board's discretion, Jesus.
8 feet. You
8
want me to
feet.
get rid of the 6
From
feet?
the ground up.
Yeah, 8 feet is good.
At least
They'll be
8
at
feet
12 foot,
tall.
put 'em in there.
4 feet apart.
8 feet tall, 4 feet apart.
So Mary, did you incorporate in there the restriction of what, 30% of trees to be removed? So
I don't think so.
No more than.
And if it's a field,
Says
I gotta
here-
add 30%.
No more, right? No
The
more.
Charlton one is,
No
it's
more.
G, it's land clearing. Clearing shall be limited to 30% of the total parcel as determined by the planning board during the site plan review for the construction, operation, and maintenance of solar energy system.
So just section G
G,
in the
land clearing,
Charlton?
yeah,
Yeah,
What page is that on?
page 3.
So how far
so
back?
you're,
we
you're
going?
telling them they can't clear a forest to put these things in. That's basically what you're telling them, and
Yes.
it's gotta be a field,
So it's gonna end up limiting.
limiting where they.
Well, I think they could clear a forest, I mean,
Yeah,
a
they
small
could clear some
section,
of
yeah,
it,
you gotta,
yeah.
you can't clear it all.
Right.
I mean, I'd rather have these things in a forest surrounded by trees than an open field, from aesthetically, what do you, really?
All the ones we've had on have been old fields.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, no, not the one in North Oxford, that was, I lived up there, that was a lot of woods.
Yeah, they did a lot of.
And Saint Germain had some trees, not a lot, but they did have some.
Mhm.
And Joe Jenny had trees because we were.
Yeah.
Yes, that was,
Yeah,
that was all trees.
That was all trees,
That was
yeah.
I don't wanna get rid of I mean, if we limit the number of acres to 10, then let them clear
I
10
like
acres
that.
worth of trees.
Yeah.
I'd rather have that than,
It's gotta be out of, if you're gonna clear 10 acres, it's gonna be
30.
I think a
30 acres,
30
at least
acre-
30
at least
acre
30
lot.
lot, yeah.
yeah, that's fine,
30%,
Yeah, I
so
like that.
that's okay.
that's
All right.
fine.
30%.
I'm okay with that.
So here's a question for you. I'm thinking in my developer head. So I own 400 acres of land. I have a guy who wants to build a solar farm, right? The town says you can only do 10 acres. So, okay, so Jim, I sell Jim 10 acres. John, he buys 10 acres next to it. I sell another guy next to that one 10 acres, and the whole thing ends up being one humongous solar farm.
That's why we.
Well, it
cap-
would be 30 acres.
That's why we cap.
It'd be 90
That's why we
acres.
cap it at the number we want is 10 or
subdivided
15 or
into
whatever.
separate lots.
Yeah.
So if we cap the number we want in town
But you
though.
kept the number of solar farms.
They're actually leased, okay, the original owner still owns them, they lease the land.
But they could buy
They
it.
could buy it.
They could.
'Cause I was
Good
approached
developer,
by
they
They
somebody
could,
buy
else.
they could, yeah, they could. But if we limit the number
I
that we
thought
have
that
in
too.
town, yeah, but if we limit the number we have in town.
I mean, if we got 7 now, we limit it to 10,
Well, Seaboard purchased the property up at 191 Old Webster Road.
Yeah,
they were,
I
my
think
wife
they-
has been contacted by
They
somebody she
had,
owns.
they had purchased
wanna
the
buy it.
property on Joe Jenny.
Used to be leasing, maybe,
Yeah.
maybe those that are gonna be permanent, they're gonna keep going for eons.
like you said, the technology might get better.
But the problem is, Rich, when the people that lease it are afraid what's gonna happen in 20 years, so they just didn't sell it, get the money up front and let them deal with it.
You're right, you're right.
Probably.
And I'm saying it's
Even
less
though we're
than,
we're gonna get a big security and something put in the bank for them to take all these things down.
I guess
Yeah.
first of all, can we go to as low as 10? I guess we'll find out, huh?
Yeah, let me look into the other towns, what their
Well,
limits are.
yeah,
That's what they have.
it's like, the same thing, it's like, how much available land is there in Oxford to do this, you know?
Exactly.
Can I just have a little discussion? Throw it out
Absolutely.
there, Noah.
That's Rich.
This whole thing about requiring them to put money up to take it down in 20 years?
Oh, yeah.
No, what is the, let me ask you a question. What is the difference between a guy who comes in, buys a piece of land, builds a little industrial building, right? And then in 20 years, maybe he stopped using it 12 years in, and it started falling apart. How come he doesn't have to have a,
Absolutely.
what's the difference between his business and the solar business?
And you see derelict buildings in
Yeah.
Webster and Worcester, and they're trying to go after the
Right.
landowners, stuff like that, it's the same thing.
They're
And-
trying to prevent it,
Yeah.
certain, in this particular industry.
And again, yeah, in this industry, it's something, we can do something about that, and unfortunately, in the housing market or in the business market, I don't think you can.
Someone could come in and buy that dilapidated building for whatever price and rehab it and get it back on the tax rolls.
They'll never do that.
A
with
solar
campus.
farm, no one's gonna come in and say, I wanna buy all these solar
Yeah,
panels.
I'm gonna scrap them for.
So that, I think that's the, and we have run into some people that they've done that. They come in, they buy an old building, they rehab it, and it's back on the tax rolls.
Yeah, Chase did that.
I'm just, yeah, Chase did that, they did that. So I'm trying to answer your question, I think it's a good question.
Yeah.
But I think that's the difference. For someone to go in and let's say that land, let's say the solar farm walks away and they leave it like that. Someone's not only gonna buy the land, they gotta spend all the money to get rid of all of that stuff and see if it's worth anything. Doesn't make economic sense. Where if you have a piece of distressed property, it does have some value. It's, maybe when it's all done, it's worth 300,000, but there's so much work into it, the person can buy it for 100, put 100 into it, it's more of an incentive.
But
That's-
isn't that like any business, if you go to buy a piece of land and there's a dilapidated building on that you have to destroy
Mhm.
and take off,
Yeah.
or there's some solar panels, so you go in and you go, okay, this land is
Mhm.
worth $1 million, but I gotta spend 250 to clean it up, so I'll
Mhm.
pay 750.
Right.
Isn't that the nature of a business deal? If somebody really wants to buy that land, they'll pay the right price to to get rid of the solar panels and then redevelop.
Anything's possible, but now you're looking at, like if, let's just say for the heck of it, they did the one up in North Oxford. You're looking at removing 100 acres of solar. Again, I don't know, Craig, you probably know more about it than I do. What's the value in that? What you'd have to almost, and again, who knows I read something the other day that there could be hazardous waste in a lot of these things that we're not being told, up front. Now, that's hearsay, so, talking like Judge Judy.
And again, what's the
Well, it-
environmental impact of those just
There's
being left there?
probably
too?
something in those panels. Anyway,
And I
every one of
think
these, and all these projects we have nothing for decommission.
Right.
Right,
So we don't wanna go any
Right.
further with that.
And I think it's, we keep on saying 20 years, but I think they're losing them after 15, there's really no value to them at all.
They lose so much a year.
Yeah.
But we don't even really know that yet.
Production,
Right?
right, they know
Well,
that.
no,
What's
they
the
know-
old-
no,
what's
they
the
know that-
oldest-
they know
What's
that-
the oldest development you have now in solar
I'm
panels
gonna guess
in this
it's
town?
10 years, but.
Yeah, I think the one on,
51 Federal Hill
Hill
Road.
Road, yeah.
yes,
Um,
that's at least 10 years.
I mean, if you wanna keep
They're
it
into
going,
10
hopefully in
years.
20 years they go in, they're just gonna replace the panels and
There
they
you
keep the
go.
thing going. That's
the
where-
only thing that has life to it,
That's
that
what we're hoping.
deteriorates.
And that's why when they put these on houses, they always put much more because they know that lose their efficiency. That's why they put more than enough to start.
Hmm.
But all the studies now, all these ones that have been going in 20 years tops.
The way Charlton does it, they don't tell you how many acres, they just say it can't be any more than 5 megawatts. That's it.
Well, maybe that's the way to do it, I don't know.
That's pretty big. That's beyond
It is.
10 acres, I
Oh.
think.
I like 10 acres.
So go 3
I-
megawatt.
I don't think the one you're talking about on Maple Ave there is in the megawatt vicinity. I'm not sure. I don't know what that became.
Big.
Maple Ave,
Yeah, how many,
And that's the
how
one
many,
with the
how
farm, the
many
big
watts
farm.
did that generate?
Goes all the way to
The
Norwood,
Yeah.
the big one.
that's like 16 point something
Yeah,
megawatts.
It's 188 acres, I know that, I mean, I don't know if that's all panels, but
Yeah.
that's the size
Well,
of the land.
Craig, the reason we got to this, when we first started, the first couple went good. And then all of a sudden, one day, we got the news that they weren't gonna pay the taxes they promised us. I mean, they sat right there and said,
Yeah.
we're gonna make $1 million over the years of town, just on the equipment.
Mhm.
That was a major reason I think the board went along with that.
Was it in the approval?
I don't think it was.
It's definitely in the minutes of the
It's in the,
conversation.
what was, I don't
It wasn't
remember.
part of the permit?
No, I don't think it was. But again, they made a commitment, we went along with it. We have a lot of these discussions like that. And then what happened, we did the one on Joe Jenny, and that was nothing but issues. The contractor came in, he didn't do what he said he was gonna do, and that lasted how many years, Rich? He kept coming back for extensions, the neighbors came in. At the end of the day, he still didn't do what he was supposed to do.
They ended up selling it to somebody
They
else.
ended up selling it to someone else, never told us about it. And then the same company, you've been here for the last one that we dealt with, okay? Same thing, same company, they did very little as to what they said they were gonna do. They made the retention pond about 1/3 of the size it was supposed to be. They put pipes in where they weren't supposed to. There was no retainage of
The
soil
only-
retainage, the fence was, so we just said, we've had it with the solar farms. So, that's where we're at right now.
The owner came in and said 95% of the stuff everything was done up there. And literally, hardly anything was done. He literally said that, he said 95% of everything is done up
So
there.
who is doing these inspections? Because the town doesn't have a planner, right? We don't have a town engineer. So when these things are being done, who's inspecting them?
Each
Well,
individual department.
It's a construction control project as well. The developer is supposed to have an engineer, and I believe that this proposed bylaw, does it specify that? They have to have an engineer
Yeah,
and
they gotta have a
provide
plan.
inspection reports.
Yeah.
So if they're doing it right, they're supposed to provide all of those field reports
Right.
and
Maybe we should have a
and
section.
if it's a construction controlled project, those affidavits and reports are kind of in place of inspections.
But I will say this, Mayor, not to interrupt you, we put in as conditions to some of these guys that they had to send in monthly reports,
Yep.
right, and they didn't do it. So I guess to answer his question, I always thought that in that situation, each department, Sean would do whatever he's gonna do for his thing, the fire department did their thing, and it was the building inspector that kinda took care of the site plan. That's the way I understood it. But obviously, the ball was dropped several times,
Right.
because again, a lot of these conditions that we did, and that's one of the frustrations that we had, is that we were putting conditions in plans and they weren't being enforced.
And
Right.
sometimes.
Now, that has been addressed by the town manager. We have hired another building inspector, and his job is specifically to deal with a lot of this stuff, so that's a good thing. And now we have the personnel to do it. But we don't have an engineer that's gonna go out and say, although they have to get a second-party review, right?
Third party?
Third-party review.
I don't know if I have that in here, but.
But there's also no time, there's no
Definitely have-
So
time
we
frame.
had that.
There's no time frame on these being done either. Some of these drag on for.
They're gonna be reviewed, whether it's
Yeah.
internal or
Right.
external,
But there's no-
they're gonna end up doing it.
There's no
Right.
You
time
don't have to
frame.
tell them.
But can I make a
Yeah, but
suggestion?
for inspections, you know, you bring up a good point, Craig. So, not to deviate from what we're talking about, but there's a subdivision developer who wants to get started on his road construction for the subdivision, and we don't have anybody to go do inspections. So I contacted our third party, Graves Engineering, and he would be inspecting periodically during all of the road construction.
Right.
So it makes perfect sense that a developer has money in an account for inspectional purposes only. Whether, you know, third-party engineer, if needed by a third-party engineer. Because a big project like this, I don't know if our engineering could.
Hasn't Graves been reviewing these solar?
Yes,
projects?
yes.
So we have been getting third.
Yes.
So to answer your question,
Inspections.
yeah,
Not-
no, not field.
See, not during
They'll do
construction.
I
asphalt.
just, like, I just heard you guys say how they're putting pipes here, they're putting pipes in the wrong places.
Yeah.
You don't do a field inspection, you don't catch that.
But
Right.
again, there's
Absolutely.
no, there's
Correct.
no, there's no time frame though, either. They'll stop construction for 6 months, 8 months, a year, you know, they'll clear, and then just leave, it'll
Well-
waste up there.
Maybe what we gotta do to answer your way is that we've gotta put in, they have to do field inspections. They have to pay for a third-party engineer to go in and review it on behalf of the town.
I mean,
Right.
maybe 30 years ago, maybe you can remember. I thought back, when I was on the board way back, that when a subdivision came in, X amount of money went into an account, and that was, and when something was done, that money was, and the developer would replenish it as we went along. So maybe something like that is something the board needs to think about. Upfront, $15,000 goes into an
We
inspection,
do
then we
have,
can
$50,000
Well, whatever.
based on the stabilization of the site.
Right.
Right.
And maybe we should come up with a construction sequence for these solar panels jobs where the initial cutting is done, there's an inspection, before they move on to the next thing. Erosion control, they don't move on until that's done. You know what I mean? Spell it out,
Yeah,
so so there's no question. You know?
I think that makes sense. But, so, we know we don't have the personnel to do that right now.
right.
So, why don't we do it as a third party? They have to pay for us to hire a Graves or somebody else to go out and do
Right.
site inspections.
Mhm.
At certain times that, and I don't know about
Based on the
the.
initial site, like I said,
You
the
guys can put
clearing,
that up,
the
but.
clearing, the erosion.
Yeah, after it's cleared, I think that, because that probably would have helped us on this.
And
See,
I
I
like the
didn't
monthly.
see that
they're
in
supposed to do
any
that.
of
I think-
the.
No, they didn't document it.
Because to be honest with you, I think they're supposed to be doing that anyways
Yeah,
themselves.
I don't see that in any of the.
Well, that doesn't mean we can't do that.
Bylaws. I put it in our bylaw,
Well, see that? Thank you.
Okay.
So smart.
but I like your idea to be more specific in a construction
Right.
sequence.
Yeah.
I mean, I put in here required inspections for
Erosion control.
erosion control measures and stormwater management components, which is spelled out in the bylaw, in the stormwater bylaw, when inspections are supposed to occur. But I think if we
Here under
spell it
E.
out for them,
The Charlton under E, parentheses 2, it just says, towards the end of it, it says, "The applicant will incur the cost for the town to hire an engineer to review the reports. If the report is not submitted, the town may consider this as evidence the facility has been abandoned or whatnot." See, they're kind of putting something like that, but
But you
it's
need to
at
have the money,
post-approval.
they need to put money up front.
For site inspections.
first site, yeah.
Okay.
And like I said, you have to lay it out, like, okay, for the first one is after the initial phase is cutting, next initial phase is
Right.
erosion control, next
Yeah.
is installation.
Access roads.
Yeah, access roads, it says, yeah, whatever they.
And the monthly reports are nice, and you just put in there that, once we don't get a monthly report, then construction ends until we get, you know, don't
Yeah.
give them 2 months or 3 months,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
field
it's kind of like
reports
it's a Deer Hill Road.
as
guy came
construction progresses submitted to the board on a weekly basis. Before and after every rain event of 0.5 inches or more until the site is completely stabilized.
So I guess my point is this, that's good, but as I said before, we've had these conditions before. Who in the town is gonna say, okay, let's double check this, even though we hire a third party, we need to have someone to say, oh, here it is, you know, whatever, they've just finished clearing the lot. Do we get a report from our third party? Somebody in the town, I think, has to just make sure that
But
happens.
for us.
Because I think that's what happened before, we got too far into the thing.
Right.
No one on behalf of the town looked at it. I'm not saying they have to go out and inspect it, but let's say we say Sean's got to do it. Did somebody say, oh, let's see, we're supposed to have a report today, we don't have it, let's contact the contractor. Because I think that's what happened with this other stuff. It just fell through the
It fell
crack,
through the cracks.
and nobody here
No one did.
followed up on it. So that's a good idea. I like the fact that the developer will pay for the third-party review, but we gotta make sure that somebody in town, so would you be willing to do that, maybe?
And if we don't get, like Charles said, if they don't receive that report in a month, was it a month?
I
They
can
consider it
write
a-
an email and
was it a month,
say,
Rich? Was it a
I'm
month,
gonna
they said?
send the building
A month.
inspector
If they
to
don't get anything within a month?
shut you down till we get our report.
Was it?
Yeah, I
a
mean,
month
somebody's
or-
gotta, I'm not, you got enough on your plate now,
She
but
said weeks.
there needs to be
I
something
don't
where,
think it has to be weeks.
at a certain point, whether we do it
2 months,
a
whatever.
benchmark with certain, you know, aspects of the project, or on a weekly or a monthly basis, that something triggers somebody in the town to say, hey, is this report in yet? And if not, stop construction.
Mhm.
Because if we had that, I think we wouldn't run
Yeah,
it.
well, hopefully.
We're
you
learning
know,
from our
we have-
mistakes.
We have money in the budget for more personnel.
Just goes to post.
Um,
It just goes to post.
There's more personnel, there's more eyes.
We covered a lot of, have we
Good discussion.
finalized anything yet? How far back we gonna go, Rich? 200 or 300 feet?
I still like.
200. I think if you make it 300, I guess it's one way to limit where they put them.
200.
200 is much.
For woods and 300 for a field.
That's what you said.
Well, that's what I'm just throwing that out.
I can compromise.
Well, that's
with
what, that, one of these said that,
Yeah.
200, and
If it's in an open field, 300 feet from any road or home, or 200 feet if it's in a wooded area.
Actually, they go, this one here, Charlton goes 100 feet from public ways, property lines, and
That's not far.
the
If you say
setback
from a
will
home,
increase
though,
to 200 if it's in a
that- They're
residential
gonna be able to
zone.
build probably closer if that home is 200 feet from there.
On there, but that's fine, because the home has 200 feet of woods in their own land.
Okay.
You know what I'm
All
saying?
right. I got you.
You hope.
I thought you were talking 300 feet within the boundaries of the property.
No, yeah.
Where I live, there's fields across the street and there's woods. So if they put it in the woods and there's 200 feet of woods, my neighbor's not gonna see it. If it's in a field, 200 feet, you're gonna be looking right at it. That's why I threw that out. But
Yeah.
Right, and that's where all of the screening and buffering mitigation comes into play as well.
Right, but if there was a field, there's no, unless you want, they gotta plant a bunch of pine trees and
Well, that's what we were talking
plant
about.
some woods.
Yeah, that's.
You
what-
don't-
You're not talking a row of trees, I'm talking, whatever you guys
You
decide.
can't protect people from looking at it, because most of these
They're
things
gonna
are on
see
the
'em
sides of
coming.
hills anyway.
Right, but if they're back far enough, it's like,
If you got people looking from a quarter of a mile, you're not.
that was the concern at the
But,
lead.
but, again, in the fall time when all those trees are, actually, quarter mile's still out way.
They
But when there's
they
no-
look
there's no
perfect
leaves on
during the
trees-
summer, but when
Yeah,
the winter comes, they
yeah,
lose
then
everything.
you do see them, yeah. And that one was set back pretty far from the road, that was, the one up on Federal Hill Road is pretty far up
Yeah, you really can't see it. You can see, from Federal Hill, you can
You
see
can
the
see a
road.
little bit.
Yeah,
A little
you can
bit.
see it.
So
I think the essence is-
6.1 setback and
West Brookfield?
So Charlton and West Brookfield, let's see. Front, side, and rear property lines on public ways of at least 100 feet, and if the system abuts a residential zone, the setback shall increase to 200 feet. So we,
So we like 200 and
200 feet.
and 300.
Front yards,
In the
front,
field.
side, and rear property lines on public ways of at least 200 feet.
Or by residential, I guess.
And listen, 200 is better than 100, whatever the board decides. Just,
Personally, I like the 200, 300.
me too.
200 is if you're sitting in bleachers at the football field and looking across the field, that's 200.
Mm.
All right, so open
That's
field, 300 feet.
Yeah.
From the road or a residence.
Or residence.
Well, I mean, if you want to just take a vote on this, I mean, I'm not
No,
trying to
vote.
force anything on
No
anybody.
vote here, no vote needed.
This is
We're already on
discussion.
the warrant.
Right.
We just haven't got the words done, and
Right, but-
warrant closes in March, right?
Mhm.
We got time to work on this thing and decide.
Yeah, then we can like
So it's
look at
gonna
it
be
at the
put in
next
there.
meeting and then see
Yeah.
what we think and then
Yeah.
if
Yep.
there's any other additional revisions.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
every-
I mean, if
Did a
anybody
good job.
wants to take a look at this in their own personal time and email me specifics that I
Can you email us out files? Are you allowed to do that?
No, we
I
have-
can't send it to everybody
No, we
all
have
at
it.
once.
We have
I
it.
can pick mine
We
up,
have
so
it. Yeah, we have this already.
You can't send,
Rich
I
can
don't-
pick it
I
up till
don't- I
Rick's
don't-
retired. Rich.
I don't think you can all, I can send you something, but you can't all like answer me at once or communicate with each other via
Yeah,
email
we can't-
all
no,
at
we can't
once
do that.
because that's considered
A meeting.
a meeting.
No, but Mary can send it to us.
No,
when
but you
she's
can-
got it all updated prior to
Yeah.
our next
Yeah.
meeting, so that
So
we
that
can
we can
review
look at
when you
it.
come up with a draft, you can,
Yep,
We
you
can
can
do
shoot
it.
that out to everybody.
okay.
And then
That'd be
we can
helpful.
stop- You can stop in and give me ideas
Covered a lot, it's a good start.
This is a good way of doing these things. I know you want to talk about the single household, stuff like that. Good form. This, especially on a meeting like this.
We're bucking heads with the states, these towns are starting to butt heads with the state now, without minimizing how many of these they can have. As far as
Right.
the state's concerned,
Yeah.
more the merrier.
more- I was just gonna say, the more the better, yeah.
Well, they want everybody to go.
But you
to
know
work.
what? That only helps people during the day. Doesn't do anything for them at night.
Nope.
Well, this battery storage stuff is really.
It's expensive, that's why no one's doing it.
Yeah.
You know what, Rich? The first meeting I went to, I wasn't able to go to the second one, but you guys went to, but one of the guys, I think the guy from West Brookfield brought it up, he said people complaining about the battery things because they make a constant
They're-
humming
Humming,
noise.
Right.
And it was driving the neighbors crazy.
Yeah,
I bet.
Oh, the
so I
batteries
think,
outside.
Yeah, what they do is they take all the solar energy and they store it in these batteries,
Right.
like Rich, and then send it out at night.
Yeah.
But they're saying those things are
It's
noisy.
gonna
and
get to
they-
the point where the generation facilities, they can't gear up and only run a little bit during the day and then run a lot of them at night. I mean, something's gotta be mitigated so that, you
Boom
know,
power.
one generator takes care of both day and night. And I don't know when that's gonna happen, but I know National Grid is fighting the damn thing crazy. They're going crazy over these things too.
So we're good?
Huh?
Till the next meeting.
We're good? Okay, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Well, no, we're not, we're good for
We're
that.
good?
Oh, no, we're good.
Good for
We're
that.
good.
Well, I just got one quick thing.
Oh,
You guys saw this,
Yeah, what happened to our 100-foot Main Street?
well,
It's
this
being
is,
closed in, huh?
well, no, this
They're
is,
make a greenway out of it.
there's a committee on,
Good.
we have a committee that are looking at signage and stuff, and one of the things that Sean talked about as part of the master plan, and I don't know, Rich, if this is what he's coming up with, but there is a meeting giving people input at the police station on February 26th at 7 PM to show what they're looking at. I also know he's trying to get some funds to take care of this. So this would answer some of the concerns people have about what the town's doing for roads and stuff. This would be a major road project. So anyone interested in giving their input, or have any comments or suggestions, or just to get information, accurate information as to what's going on, you might want to attend this meeting.
Can I just make a comment?
Absolutely.
So I went to the town meeting when the DPW was getting kind of like lambasted by not fixing roads. So this is what he wants to do, fix up Main Street, and that's gonna help the roads that are falling apart around town?
No, this is,
No,
you gotta
This is
remember,
kind of unrelated, this is
Yeah.
Okay.
branding. and
this has been going for
wayfinding
3 years.
Committee for the town. That's got to do with like signage and visibility.
Okay.
And safety, he wants to narrow the street. Again, you gotta understand, there's a state or a federal program called Complete Streets. People say, oh, what do we need bicycle paths for? Well, to get the money to do that, you have to put in a bicycle path.
Makes
So,
sense.
that's why we're doing, this is, what I'm saying is, it is another road in town that would be approved, that we're hoping to get federal or state money for. Okay, and again, the whole road thing's a whole different thing. You know, the back roads,
Yeah.
I'm sure there'll be something come up in the next year or so on plans that the town has to do with that. Here's the bottom line. We were on the master plan committee. There's 3 things that are gonna cost money, we're gonna have to raise money for. More than, either an override or a debt exclusion, and that was the DPW, the roads, and the community center. Those 3 things, so that the town's gonna get the opportunity to vote on all these things, and hopefully people will base their input on facts, not on things that people make up. And a couple of these things are gonna be coming up. I don't know if it'll be the next town meeting, but the one after. So just pay attention, and again, attend meetings like this to get information and to give the town your input. Thank you.
And you got the motion on the floor.
I'll second it.
Second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those voting in favor?
Aye.
Carried unanimously.